Well, it's Friday evening, the 27th of June, sorry, the 28th of June, and I'm out doing what I like doing best. Of course, rivers and streams and the oceans, you know, beautiful places to go. This is what it's really supposed to be about, and we have to kind of keep sight of that. So I'm out with my cameras, take a few pictures, camping out, trying to get, one with nature again. I like people, I do, some of them. I'd like to be able to like all of them, but as you know, that gets hard. We have to, I guess, have big hearts and forgive people. But that doesn't mean we have to forget. I think the commandment is, I will forgive whom I will, but to you it is given to forgive everyone. I think that's right. So we're out here taking a look at nature, like I said. I just love the combination of the greens and the blues. I think that's why I do this so much. I just find it so fascinating. You know, it's true, we do need to have some kind of order in our lives. If we run entirely wild and we have no discipline, then we don't learn a whole lot. We certainly can't teach it much to others. But then again, if we're too controlled, we're told what to look at, what to concentrate on. We're told what's important, rather than letting us find out for ourselves. So, it's that age-old argument, is it the state's right to control the individual for the benefit of the state because the state is the ultimate embodiment of the organism? Well, I suppose you can be taught that by the progressives and by the, the communists and the Marxists and people like that. And of course, usually no man or woman by themselves do accomplish a whole lot. It does take teamwork to an extent. But I think most of you would agree. We need to have our own experience. We don't need to be told, we shouldn't be told what we're supposed to do all the time in every circumstance. How would we grow if that were the case? How would we know that we want to scale that cliff? Oh, that's dangerous. Oh, you bet. If you could see it from my perspective, you would know that that is extremely dangerous. It's going up at a very steep angle, and then the actual walls there almost straight down. It's hard to tell from here, but they are. So who's going to decide if I'm going to be able to attempt that climb or not? If the state tells me I can't, I'll never know if I could have. Some things just have to be left up to the individual. As a matter of fact, I would say the majority of things need to be left up to the individual. I'm holding the camera today. I was going to bring my tripod, but it's better to be unencumbered when you're out in the woods like this. Not that the tripod's all that big of a problem, but it's just another thing that you have to remember to pick up when you leave, and sometimes I get forgetful. There are voices out there that say that mankind is out of place here on the earth, that we're a blight, we're a disease. And yet, it was mankind, through the auspices and the gifts of God, the way I look at it, that gave us a mind that we could choose to use for right or wrong. Look at our great poetry. our literature, even our movies, you know, the good ones. I don't care much for the blood and gut ones. They have their place once in a while. Dance, music, scientific discovery. And man's not supposed to be here? Scientists came out with that thing that I've talked about several times, you know, quantum physics, quantum mechanics, that the world is, at least the natural world is, very much like it is because we observe it. We kind of create it in some ways. Unfortunately, we create some bad things in our lives and in other people's lives because, you know, other things get involved, greed, etc. But the fact of the matter is that man's quite a creation. And my own personal feeling is that God put him here so that he could see through man's eyes, be the ultimate observer in a myriad of individuals. That's quite a bit different than say what came out here just a while ago. It was actually earlier that it was printed, but NASA came out with this, at least they purport it's NASA. It's called The Future Is Now 2025, that they need to kill all the humans because we're this disease on the earth. What a tragedy. The beautiful creature of mankind held in such contempt. Yeah, we do some damage, but it's usually the leaders that take us there. And then, you know, Eric Holdren, his eco-science, saying how they're going to, you know, slowly poison us and that we're not worth the effort, that the earth is really not liking us here. I'm paraphrasing, but that's really what you read when you read between the lines, and how to get rid of the greater number of us. I suppose we could, you know, be a little more careful about how we multiply ourselves, but again, that has to be an individual choice. Actually, I had promised myself I didn't want to philosophize too much, and I didn't want to talk about the current world situation too much. So I'll just try to show you some nice things. Like I say, I do this quite a bit. Be nice to have somebody to do it with, but I guess that'll show up one of these days. You know, I was in this spot a few days ago, and I had a deer come up within 10 feet of me. No fear. I was really amazed. And that just doesn't happen very often. And so, you know, if that occurs again this time, I'll take a picture of it for you. Like I said, it's important to get out and see the real world, what man has constructed, albeit for his survival, but a great deal of it does him more harm than good. So, you know, we need to get out and enjoy this gift to us. I'll take you back down here to the stream. It's really kind of nice. This one's kind of deep down in this little, almost a gorge. It's not that far down there, but look how beautiful that is, and the sound. I'll just let you listen for a minute. Well, it's now the morning of the 29th of June, and I hope you enjoyed some of the pictures from yesterday. I was hoping, you know, that there'd be and they did come through here last night, deer and elk. I found the tracks this morning, but of course without using a flash I wouldn't be able to take pictures of them, and I don't like to disturb them that way, so I didn't bother, and I didn't have infrared, which wouldn't make it too interesting anyway. So I guess today is that rejuvenation day. Actually, it started yesterday. You know, I usually do these every week, as often as I can. When I did the horror of all the earth, it was during the same type of a period. You know, I'll admit, you know, I'm a man. I get angry. I would prefer to think that it's righteous indignation when we have these leaders and these people that should actually be doing the very best they can for us rather than trying to subvert goodness. You know, the scripture said that in the last days that they would call evil good and good evil, and they would use all kind of sophistry and explanations and excuses to make that happen, when in reality the new morality is nothing more than the old immorality. I don't mean to get angry at individuals that engage in those behaviors. I mean, I've been guilty of them myself, some of it, and obviously not all of it. But I've made mistakes. I'm not without error. But when we are so flagrantly in violation of basic natural law and understanding and love and natural affection, and when we do things that in reality hurt ourselves and others in the long run. And I'm not gonna interpret much today. I just want to talk about a few things and let you all decide what it means to you. I will say this: I'm a firm believer myself that God made man in his image, and I take that literally, male and female. And if you understand Hebrew and you look at the unspeakable, unutterable name of God, that proof is in there. Isabella Moon, I think you know what I'm talking about. I sent you some information on that. I usually don't talk about it unless people ask, because the Greek influences on religion, even though you think they're not there, they are, even in the interpretations of the New Testament. So I'll just let you know I am not what you would consider to be a traditional Christian in the sense of westernized Christianity, and I'll admit to that. I think there have been a couple of people that have commented on that. So you might not be interested in what I have to say today, but it's a beautiful morning, and I was, you know, inspired, I guess, to kind of do this, or maybe it's just my way of cleansing my spirit from all the bad karma, all the bad stuff that happened this last week. I don't usually talk, you know, as rough as I did to the people that were involved in what happened, but I want them to know that repentance will, well, I'll talk about that as I go through this, okay? Let me grab a couple things here so I don't have to be out of your sight too much. I haven't written down what I'm going to say as much as just some references. And of course, you know, I use the Judeo-Christian tradition, and all of what I'm going to talk about this morning is going to come from the New Testament, but I'm also going to just say something that's in the Dead Sea Scrolls, because that was my field of endeavor, and I can pretty well authoritatively speak about something there that will go along with what I'm presenting this morning. Again, I'm not going to so much interpret this as send some things out here for you all to ponder, and hopefully this won't take too long, because this is going to be a long video with all the scenery that I showed you yesterday. I mentioned in one of my videos, or maybe it was a comment, I said, well, how does God know who's supposed to go to heaven? And you know, of course, people say, well, you know, God knows everything, and then I had one guy with what I said was, how does God know who needs to show, or who will show up in heaven, or how does God know who is going to go to heaven? Still a little early. By who shows up. And I had some people think that, wow, that's putting down God's omniscience, you know, what he knows. Oh, it's Jesus, you know, you have to, are you saying you don't need Jesus Christ? So that's kind of what dawned on me last night, is that I had made this statement: how does God know who's supposed to be in heaven? And the answer is by who shows up. And I'm not going to talk about the personality of God in this thing. I'm going to talk about us, and I'll leave the interpretation to you, okay? Let's go to Philippians 2, 5, and 6 first, because I want to read that in context of what we're going to say. And no, this isn't a sermon. This is about who mankind is and who we are to become, what we are to become. This traverses all faiths, all socioeconomic spectrums. This is our destiny, if we just keep hold of it. It's not just Holy Writ, okay? It's not just religion. Matter of fact, I'm not religious at all. Spiritual is the way I like to look at it, because I gather things from a lot of different areas. Let me read this to you. Remember, okay, how does God know who belongs in heaven? And my answer was, by who shows up. This is Philippians, okay? It's chapter, 2, verses 5 to 6, if you want to take a look at it, okay? Philippians chapter 2, verses 5 and 6. Let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus, who, being in the form of God, thought it not robbery to be equal with God. Think about that. Like I said, I could comment on it. Let me just say a couple of things. The greatest of all is to be the servant of all. And our leaders always have a tendency to lord over us. But a true leader is actually your best servant. Has your best interests in mind. Doesn't usurp your free agency, your right to choose, your liberty, but assists you in making the best possible decisions for your life. So let me leave that one there. I think that's kind of important. It's also telling you something about your nature and about what's expected of you. You know, we're supposed to be like Jesus Christ, right? He was the great example, so we are supposed to be like him. Think about that in conjunction with this scripture in Philippians. It's not so much the personage, it's the principle that we espouse, that we take into ourselves, that determines what we are like. So merely to worship something in the sense of giving it homage isn't enough. You have to become that thing, that principle, if you understand what I'm saying. Like I said, I don't want to comment too much. I want to read something that happened to John the Revelator. Remember, he was exiled to the island of Patmos. And John the Revelator is most likely a very special person. Of course, everybody considers him to be the Apostle John. And that's probably true, but who that individual is, as is who the individual of Jesus Christ is, would surprise most people. But again, I'm not here to talk about that. I'm going to give you a hint in the Dead Sea Scrolls here in a little while. But I want to read Revelations 22, 8 to 13. There's something interesting that happens. Remember I said the principle of Christ, that we are to become that. Look what happens to John here, and this is a guy who knew the man. All right, listen to this. Again, Revelations chapter 22, verse 8, and we're going to go all the way through 13. And I, John, saw these things and heard them. And when I had heard and seen, I fell down to worship before the feet of the angel which showed me these things. Then saith he unto me, See thou do it not. Bow down and worship him. For I am thy fellow servant, and of the brethren the prophets, and of them which keep the sayings of this book, worship God. And he saith unto me, Seal not the sayings of the prophecy of this book, for the time is at hand. He that is unjust, let him be unjust still. And he which is filthy, let him be filthy still. And he that is righteous, let him be righteous still. And he that is holy, let him be holy still. And behold, I come quickly. Remember, this is the angel talking that John was trying to worship. Listen to what he says here again. And behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with me, to give every man according as his work shall be. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. Blessed are they that do his commandments. That they, well, he finished quoting. The angel stopped talking there. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. And then John starts talking. Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life. Do you see what happened there? Remember I talked about principles. This being was so much like Christ that John thought it was. That person, that individual. Just something for you to think about why I said what I said, about who shows up. Okay, now I'm going to go read a little something more. This is going to be in Matthew 12:30. Yeah, I'm sorry, Matthew 12:30 to 32. Christianity, a lot of Christians get into this point where you have to accept Christ. You know, you have to accept this personage of Christ. Let's put it that way. This individual, this God, this individual. I want to put it that way because that's important. And yet, the scriptures in Corinthians says faith, hope, and charity. You can have faith and you can have hope, but if you have charity, you have nothing. So what's more important? Faith in something, belief in something. If you want to equate those, faith and belief aren't really the same thing, but for our discussion, let's just say they are. That isn't what's most important. Charity, the light of Christ, doing the works of Christ, even if you don't know him as an individual personally, is what's important. So that's why I want to read this. This is again Matthew chapter 12, 31, 32. Wherefore I say unto you, all manner of sin and blasphemy shall be forgiven unto men, but the blasphemy against the Holy Ghost shall not be forgiven unto men. And whosoever speaketh a word against the Son of Man, it shall be forgiven him. But whosoever speaketh against the Holy Ghost, it shall not be forgiven him, neither in this world, neither in the world to come. Do you understand the significance of that? So, it's more important. You know, I see atheists, people who don't believe in a God per se, who are more like Christ in their everyday world, who honor him by their actions, even though they may not know him personally. But you know what? Do you remember what I said? How does God know who comes to heaven, who should go to heaven? Because they show up. Like attracts like. Birds of the feather flock together. These people that have the Spirit, the truth, the light in their heart will be there. Okay? Here I go again. All right. Dead Sea Scrolls. Do you realize? Now, the Dead Sea Scrolls, there's arguments there as to whether it was written, 60 years before Jesus. That seems to be the consensus of opinion on Dead Sea Scroll scholars. But the reason why is because they don't want the information to be concomitant. They don't want it to be current with Jesus because it causes them too many theological problems. Fact of the matter is, and I'm just going to say this because this is my professional opinion on it, and I can do that. I think that a lot of it was written prior to Christ's time because the people of Qumran had been there for a long time, since the Maccabees, really. However, a lot of it was written during the time that Christ would have been walking the earth. And he was a member of their group. I won't be able to tell you who he was in that group, but I will say that the word Yeshua, Yeshava, is in there. And it's not referring to an individual. It's saying that those who accept God's salvation, and that's what that means, Yeshua, will be the sons of God. Okay, if they accept that light, that truth. They weren't talking about a person, an individual, other than God. And then we can equate Jesus with God, and that's okay. I don't care if you folks do that. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that even in the Dead Sea Scrolls, what I said here, the principles of the light of Christ, the truth of Christ, that taking of those truths and becoming part of our personality, our character, is what they recognized as being important. Because you won't find the name Jesus Christ in the Dead Sea Scrolls. It's more of a title. It's not even really mentioned there. Of course, Mashiach is, which is the Hebrew version of Christ, Christ being the Greek version. But again, I didn't want to get into too much interpretation here. I just want you to know how I'm feeling today, and that I love all good people who try to do the right thing. And even those who are trying to do the right thing and end up hurting others in the process, we can forgive you folks. And that's why I talk to those gentlemen, and I will call them that, who did these things to me and who have done it to others. If you have the light of Christ in you, you want to do what's right. You need to do a little more seeking. You need to truly stand up for liberty and freedom, and not think that by trampling it you can save it, because that's an oxymoron. And there have been people in our lives, that have hurt us, sometimes intentionally, sometimes not. And we have done that to others. God says we have to forgive everyone, and He'll decide whether or not He'll, judge them or whatever, considering. To us, it is given to forgive everyone, and He can forgive who He will. But the other side of that is forget. Remember, I said in one of my videos, I said, I'm going to forgive, but I won't forget. There is one condition that I will forget, and that God forgets, and this is the key. If you repent of the thing that you've done that's wrong, and then you do all that you can to do good to the person or persons that you have hurt, never doing that thing again, because that's what true repentance is, guess what? The natural occurrence is that the person you did it to forgets about it. Think about your personal relationships, especially the ones from long ago that now you kind of, you don't worry about too much about what it's doing to your heart. Normally what you think about are the good times, not the bad, because you have forgiven those people, and even though they haven't repented, it's been long enough that they haven't hurt you any longer, and so those good thoughts keep coming back to you. Now, I don't think like many other people do. I've been told that, and I know. And maybe there are people out there, and I'm sure there are, that hold grudges forever. But at least in my heart, when I think of those things, I remember the good times, by and large. So I guess I do forget. All right. Well, going to go and enjoy the rest of the day today. I don't know when I'll get this loaded up. I don't know that I'll have much more to say. I just want you to know that I hope that we all, those who desire it, I hope that we all who desire it receive the light of truth, the light of life, and, if you will, the light of Christ.